So I pray to God, yeah, I pray to be. Yeah, I often wonder what's my purpose here when the dirt is dry and the sky is clear. I pray to God, and I pray to be.
For those who know me, this might look like a before and after photo 2 years ago when I cut off 12 inches from my hair, but you're not seeing double. This is Tanner Burch from Tanner Burch and the Hillhippies. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Hanging there like a hair and a biscuit, you know.
You Georgia guys, I swear, you'll come up with some crazy things to say, but
Yeah,
that's
man.
what makes y'all the deep south.
My grandpa.
Oh, do y'all like hairs on your biscuit?
Huh?
Do y'all like hairs on your biscuit?
No, but I mean, it just happens sometimes, especially when you got this going on.
I get that. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I take that back. I completely relate to that. Dude, I'm constantly having just every time.
Man, I used to get mad at my old girlfriends about the hair in the shower, but man, I'm just as guilty now.
It happens, man. Life has a weird way of teaching us lessons. You know, a very weird way of teaching us lessons. But for anyone who doesn't know, Tanner has a great impact, what I believe, on Broadway as a whole. And you described it as a traditional and outlaw sound with jam band tendencies. Tell me about that.
Well, I didn't know necessarily how to describe myself because, like, when I originally started playing music, I was really like outlaw. You know, I'm sticking it to mainstream country, and I was trying to do something in spite of something, and like that never really brings out anything genuine. So, I got labeled outlaw because I guess I sound like that, but you know, I backpedaled and I said I'm kind of like a traditional guy, kind of an outlaw guy, but like my band and I, we jam out, we do anything, we do all swing shuffles. I have some very talented guys in my band who I think are some of the best musicians I've ever met in my life, and I let them go at it. So sometimes we'll do the the arrangements of like George Strait type style, tight, twin guitar stuff. And get straight to the point. Sometimes we'll do shuffles and swings where, the guys are having fun with it, and then sometimes we'll even do like some hippie country stuff like Friend of the Devil and Grateful Dead and stuff like that.
I think that's important. Diversity is important. I'm actually curious you brought that up, and I recently got in a pretty lengthy debate with another country dancer about the shuffle, because there was a guy just recently posted about who talked about the shuffle not really being a thing he sees, and I think he was talking more so about mainstream country, but in the end the other individual was talking about the fact of like that's just a swing rhythm. Do you see a difference between the shuffle and the swing? The whole reason, the inspiration from the original video, the guy's video talking about the strumming, was George Jones had said on a live recording, here's a shuffle for you. And he played that specific type of, not straight strumming, but a shuffle, he called it.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, a feller said that shuffle was just a slower down version of a swing.
He was saying that there wasn't like, he was correcting the video because the guy called it a shuffle, referring back to George Jones calling it a shuffle, and he taught it. And from him teaching it, the other individual said, "Oh, well, congratulations, he discovered a swing rhythm."
I mean, I guess you could say that. I'm thinking about it right now, but I feel like the impact, the trot, of a shuffle, and then the kind of the waviness of a swing. I don't know. I mean, I could see the argument for that, but swing and shuffles. I mean, when you hear this, well, I mean, when you hear like "Roly Poly" by Bob Wills, and then you hear, a Ray Price shuffle. There's a clear difference in how those and how the drums are played. So I don't know, but I could see the argument there. I mean, if it could be like a sped up shuffle. Um, but that's
We just
interesting.
got to the point of I was kind of confused why we chose that hill to die on when like most dancers don't even know the difference between a two-step and a triple step, or a
Yeah,
waltz and a polka. So
yeah,
I was like, why are we making that like discussion, And we'll get into that dancing side later. I was just curious about that because I actually most musicians don't even mention shuffles. So
yeah.
I'm curious. Also, what got you into that sound? Like, did you grow up listening to it? Did dad or mom play the music? Did
Hmm.
you take really a keen interest at a certain age to it?
Man, I'll be honest with you. No, my dad was a big like ZZ Top, Blackfoot, like Leonard Skinner. I mean, the first concert I ever went to was Leonard Skinner. I mean, come on.
Hey, come on, that's
You know,
Southern rock. I mean, that's
yeah,
technically country.
yeah, technically, especially in this world. And so I didn't really grow up on shuffles, or like even like the super old country. I always heard it and it was always reminiscent. Like I would hear the Hank Williams Sr. being played at my grandparents' house. I would
Hmm.
hear the Don Williams being played with my grandmother. But as far as my parents, my dad's mostly, every guy dad has had that hard rock station just in the truck all the time. And then my mom was like Gap Band, you know, funky stuff. That was her thing.
Hmm.
So my venture into country music, I think the first country CD I had was actually the Garth Brooks Fences one. And then the Tim McGraw, I forget which one it is. I had a Tim McGraw album as well. And the 90s sound, it's a great sound. And I think my dad showed me Waylon Jennings one time, and that really keyed my interest. But to be honest, I hated country music probably from 2006 to like 2015. Like I just whatever was going on in that era, that was kind of like the definition of it.
Contemporary
And
country, that's what was happening.
yeah, it was. And I mean, we all went to like spring break and had Florida Georgia Line blaring everywhere. I mean,
Of course.
it was just a thing to do. You weren't musically inclined. You were just a young dumb kid trying to have fun. That music, it makes sense. So I really didn't get turned back on the country until I heard Sturgill Simpson. I was in my hippie era at the time. I was big Deadhead, working at a bar that played a lot of bluegrass music, and I was doing following the jam bands around, and I heard Sturgill, and I was like, man, this is great. This is how it's supposed to sound. So my hatred for country wasn't the fact that I hated country. I was hating what was being produced and put on the radio and shoved in my face. And so that put me back on to seeking out the Waylon Jennings stuff again and listening to that. And I kind of hung on to that. And then I heard Cody Jinks, and between the combination of Jinx and Sturgill, I was like, man, if these guys can do that and write like that and have success with it, maybe I have a shot. And at the time, I hadn't picked up a guitar. A guitar. My grandmother died and gave me my my first guitar, which is a 1985 Ibanez, which is this one right here, actually. That guitar. I learned how to play guitar on that one, and a Dan Seals record. And I was in a long distance relationship at the time in Nashville doing medical sales in like 2017, 2018. And I decided that I was going to try and play guitar. So I did a couple lessons and then I couldn't afford it. So after that, I just taught myself on YouTube. I practiced 3 hours a day. And I was able to do strumming patterns within 2 months. And then I was writing my first song, you know?
Come on.
And so my style then, if you look on streaming, my Rugged Soul EP reflects a lot of the style from my earlier days. So it's very like raw. It's very
Hmm.
raw. Not super complex chords or like, songs, just storytelling, and when I originally started, I was really hung up on the halftime Waylon sound stuff, man. And the Grateful Dead stuff type thing. And then I got thrown on Broadway And Broadway gave me an opportunity to mature a lot. I had no clue what I was doing musically or even as a band leader. And I got shoved in the second floor of Lucky Bastards where you might make $75 a person on a good day. Most of the time it was just $60. And I made a lot of mistakes, made a fool of myself, but I started to learn what country was kind of all about because everybody loves to pick on the cover gigs, man. But like everybody had to do it. Waylon used to do it in the basement with a toilet guitar, playing covers of like he did a lot of Bob Wills stuff, and Garth Brooks did it. I mean, everybody's had to do it. Toby Keith, everybody. And what it does, it just helps you mature. Learning those songs helps you learn a lot about yourself musically. It teaches you a lot of things that you wouldn't have learned otherwise from the mainstream if you by just playing what's popular or playing what you're just hearing now. You start learning covers, you start realizing there's more out there than just the sound that you're hearing in the current day, and you learn how to flow and sing. You learn how to see how players interact and how things should sound and can sound. And so the long story short is I played almost 1,000 shows in 4 years, and that has taught me more than anything about country music, and that's what got me hooked onto the shuffle and swing style, or just like playing good tight country music, or letting the craftsmanship of the melody uh, do most of the impact.
Hmm.
Uh, that's kind of like where being around the musicians I was involved with, playing with on Broadway, has taught me a lot about country music. And I try to like humble myself because they're way like my guitarist went to UC Berkeley. My bass player learned classical voice at Belmont, and then my drummer, he went to music school. I forget what he went, but they're all so just, they hear things, they see things.
Yeah.
And because like band leaders in this town are so egotistical, they won't, ask for their opinion on originals or songs and how they should be sung or how they should be doing. And I try to humble myself and just listen to those guys. And their favorite things to play are swinging and shuffles. My favorite thing is singer swinging and shuffles. So, it's that's how it's kind of developed, man. Is long story short, is like it started, you know that raw songwriter sound that's super popular now. Like everybody's doing it, Zach Bryan style. It's the Zach Bryan effect, or the Tyler Childers effect. And everybody is writing that way. And now it's like, how can I bring back a sound, make it modern, be genuine, and make it more musical and for people to dance to? Like,
Mm.
I feel like, the reason why I love playing in Texas is like, you just, the formality of it and how it is just how I think country music's meant to be. That's where it started, and that's where it should go back to.
I think that's a great point, to be honest. And I'm going to put a pin in that because we're going to come right back to that. And that's how I'd love
Mhm.
to finish this out, is going into not necessarily Texas, because being from Arkansas, I do love it here. There's so much history. You can't
Yeah.
discredit it. However, I also want the other states to find their voice as well. And I
Mhm.
don't think they are lacking in it. I think they're not, how do I say it? I think they're lacking in knowledge of themselves, confidence too. And therefore, the
Mhm.
voice that's coming out is mainstream. It sounds like everyone else. So they don't have their own identity. So Texas definitely has had the longest run and the strongest. But I think just like in music right now, we see everyone popping up from every different state. And I wish dancing would do the same, bring back the regional
Mhm.
styles. But I'll come back to that because I'm curious, the way you're speaking about stuff, is that learned all from like your knowledge? Is that learned from all your bandmates? Because I mean, coming from sports, you did pick up a lot of jobs. Like, dude, when people ask me, like, I'm the same way. When people ask me, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" I'm like, I make a living. I don't care. Like, if there's a job and I need to make money, I will make it happen. I mean, you've
Mhm.
gone from coach to carpenter to hibachi cook. Like, that's crazy. And so, Where did you pick up the knowledge that you have about music, or did it start earlier than your band?
I've always been obsessed with music. So that's not like I would walk around the neighborhood and go like 15 minutes back and forth to McDonald's to get some fries and a Coke and you know. And so I would always have my headphones on listening to like Led Zeppelin or the Beatles. I wrote like a sixth grade paper on freaking Woodstock. Like, I won a poetry contest for the county in middle school. And then, like, I did a paper on Carlos Santana. Like, I've always loved music and I've always envisioned doing it. I was just such a sports guy. I just thought, like the possibility of doing music for a living or being able to be that talented and be, above the cream of the crop, like I just didn't think it was a realistic goal.
Mm.
And so like it's always been there. And like I always, could identify like guitar licks in bands. Like as soon as it started, I could recognize the sound. Can't do that now, but back then I could. So I've always loved it, and I was always really, kind of obsessed with it. And like, I think listening to jam bands, you start listening to the music a little bit more. Now, some that's not for everybody, but you do learn to appreciate like how a band works and how it makes you feel, and that's an important aspect, is how can the band work together to make you feel. And a lot of times you can feel without the lyrics, and you can feel with the solos and how the interplay is between whoever you have in there. That's what jam band opened me up to. And then writing and learning how to play, it just kind of find your way into it. I feel like trial by fire is the best way to do it. Like, go to open mics, give it a shot, sing off key, get too drunk, forget the words. Like, go play with a band, make a fool out of yourself because you told everybody the wrong key. Like, your brain wants you to thrive, and it's going to help you if you practice. It's going to help you solve the problems to get better. Now, like gaining that knowledge is based on the previous jobs. I'm not sure if those had anything to do with it, but I will say, like the college football aspect. When I wanted to be the best. Like I wanted to be the best. I've always wanted to be the best at football, and the one thing I always said was, I'm one out of 1,000 guys that play this position at the D1 AA level. So there's something I have to do to separate myself from those guys. And the thing was work ethic. And I just busted my ass, and I worked real hard. And, I was an All-American, All-Conference linebacker. And so I take that attitude into music as I'm very open to it because, one, I don't know everything. Two, I'm not classically trained, and I'm very open to criticism from the right people. You can't always keep yourself open to
Hmm.
certain people who are just, they're walking egos. You don't want to get caught in that. But just, listen to my bandmates who really kind of believe in the sound, and they see things that I don't, and also the fact that they hear things I don't. And, that has helped me see what can separate me from other people and not sounding the same. And that's
Hmm.
learning experience, man. That's just a learning experience. You can't just do it the first song and expect to capture that unique ability. Some people can. I mean, I'm not sure, but it's a trial and error thing with music for me. And I'm still learning. Like I
Hmm.
was actually, me and my guitarist came over the other day and was telling me how to sing and ride with these notes that I wasn't riding with. They said I was being too choppy. And so like hearing stuff like that and then seeing what's going on in the Nashville scene and what's being pushed, that knowledge, as my thing is trying to separate me from what's being happened in Nashville. Like, because there's so many singers in the world now, dude. Like there's, I can't keep up with how many country singers there are now. Like, it's such a huge amoeba now. Like everybody's
Hmm.
just involved from every corner of the country. You know, being aware of what's getting put out is a good thing, but also understanding what do you bring to the table that's unique, and that's I'm still trying to find that. You know.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists, that's one of the downsides of things like TikTok and social media as a whole, is that a lot of these younger artists or newer as a whole, they don't get to like discover their sound.
No.
One of my buddies, we've been really tight since college, and he was 2 years younger than me. And so when I graduated, he still had time in college, but it's a different genre. But he was starting to rap, right? And I was one of the few guys I feel that was straight up honest with him, and he would try. So he had a specific music that he wanted. He wanted that, like, I don't even know how to put words to it. It's not the mumble rap, but it's that, like, it's not like funk or whatever they call it. It's just there's that style about 4 or 5 years ago that was popular, and he still does it. He does well, but every time the one thing I kept coming back to him was like, your sound. You haven't found it yet. And it's not a good or bad thing. It's not your singing is bad, or
Mhm.
your, like, the way you're singing is bad. It's just, I don't feel you. I don't see
Yeah.
who you are and what you're doing. And so, like, his third song, I was like, you're nearly there. I hear it. And then he lost it again. And it's not technically losing it, because now he's dropping, a song every 3 months. And I'm like, I hear what you're doing. Is it my
Mhm.
style? Hell no. But
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I love that I can hear you through it. And so I think that's really important. That's really important for these guys to find that. And I also, like you're saying, I think there's a downside, but I also think it's a huge blessing to have. I can't keep up with everyone. And that, to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, it's great. Although these old heads that continue to try to say country music's dead, first of all, I was like, it was never dead. But also, it's like, why are y'all choosing the people you're choosing? Even mainstream, we have people now that sound 75% stellar. And
Oh
we
yeah.
have some that are like 100% great. Like, you go
Mhm.
back a decade, we had nobody even close. Like,
Yeah.
nobody close. Everyone was unkept. Like, they were not found, right?
Yeah.
But now we can, like you're saying, if you're in the right area, you can throw a stone and hit someone who's dropping good country. But on the same side, we have so many people trying to come into it. But
Yeah.
those people, somehow the people who think they're like the most country, like, listeners, they're
Mhm.
like the best, oh yeah, I know where, like, I'm the only one that knows good country music. It's like, how do you not know who Braxton Keith is? How do you
Yeah.
not know, like, how do you not know who, see, there's so many, like, even weird, like, people who are bringing back different songs, like Emily Zeck. How do you not
Mhm.
know, like, these now not underground but non-radio people?
Yeah.
It kills me. And even there's also weird niches. I don't know if you've seen these. Fans of certain groups are starting to go after other artists. I just saw a Charlie Crockett fan group, and it wasn't even a fan group. It was some weird, like, he's an artist as well, but he tried to say that Zach Top is a poser because Charlie Crockett used to play on the streets. And I was like, of everyone you chose Zach, the guy who's been playing in a bluegrass band since he was 7. Like, I
Man.
can understand hate. Go for it. Be a groupie, hate on other people. We love it. That's what makes it music. That's what makes it art.
Yeah.
But out of everyone you could have chosen, you went for him.
Yeah, dude.
That's clearly gatekeeping. Like, you just hate on him because he's popular right now.
Man.
Come on.
Country music snobs are a different breed, bro. They're such a different breed. And like Charlie Crockett, like, yeah, he played on the streets. He did the thing. Not Benjamin Todd did that. Not every
Hmm.
cat's gonna do that, man. Not every cat's gonna do that. There's a million different ways to skin a cat, and like I believe there are rites of passage
Hmm.
in country music, and like I believe there's rites of passage in the fact that you need a story to tell, you need to go through certain things, you need to have like an experience like this or that. I agree, but like there's a quality sound coming out of your mouth, I'm gonna listen. You know, there's a quality, if there's something unique about how things are getting played, I'm gonna listen. You know,
Hmm.
at that point, it doesn't matter your backstory, but like Zach Top, come on, like that guy's doing more for the country music sound than anybody has. You know, in the past decade. Minus like Culver Wall. You know, Culver
Yeah.
Wall. Man,
I do want
his
to say I'll push back just a little because I want to make sure semantics, which I think we agree 100% on it, but it's a fact
yeah,
like a lot of people too are saying he's saving country music, and I hate when people say
no,
saving
yeah,
because you didn't say that, but like a lot of people go down that line and they're like, oh, he's saving country music, and I was like, how can you say that after Sturgill and Tyler pretty much
yeah,
alone
dude.
from 2015 carried us through COVID and brought so many artists out of COVID, like
Yes.
undoubtedly, like yeah, I could name also like. I can name a couple of others that 2016, 2017 were still there, but a lot
Hmm.
of them were half sold out to Nashville. I'm
Yeah.
talking saving. If we want
Mhm.
to use the word saving, that's different, and it puts
Yeah.
too much pressure on Zach and those guys. But with you saying he's bringing back or doing the most, I think work ethic though. I think he sounds the most like it. I think that's what you're saying. When it comes to mainstream, he's
Yeah.
perfectly presenting the sound, but so many
Mhm.
guys have like put in a lot of work ethic. And I think that's what you mean. Semantics,
Yeah.
especially when we were talking about gatekeeping and other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I'll backpedal a little bit. What Zach has done is he infiltrated Nashville, and he has infiltrated it with that sound and that voice and that writing style, and he has been able to like enter the mainstream arena at a very rapid rate. Now, like I said, Sturgill, I believe was doing God's work back in 2000 whenever he did. Turnpike was doing it, man. Like like back in like 2000, what 2008, Long Hot Summer Day came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Cross Canadian Ragweed was like even Stony LaRue's stuff, man, was the Red Dirt album was so damn good. So like, you know, in the past 10 years, like I'm not discrediting those guys at all. Like I freaking like the wave of those guys with Tyler Childers, Culture Ball, Sturgill Simpson. I'm missing somebody. That
Dude,
was
we're always
great.
missing people. That's what I hate. I always hate when I get in the spot because I'm like, let me name off like 10 names. Because if I go to my Spotify, I can name off 100. But
Yeah,
then I get in the moment and I'm like, oh
yeah,
goodness.
dude. And
Because
then
in my head,
somebody
I
gets
was
mad at
thinking
you.
Ashley McBride. And the
Yeah.
one name that came to mind
Cody
was
Johnson.
Martina McBride. And I was like, oh, what? That's not right.
Yeah. Oh, and like I'm totally skipping Cody Johnson, man. I mean, look, like I just there's so like I can say like this big statement like he's doing more for country music, but when I think about it. I'm glad you checked me on it because, like, I saw Cody Johnson in 2017, and he sounds so good. I thought that there was auto tune somewhere. Like the
Mm-hmm.
guy, just unbelievable singer.
Yeah.
Good lord.
I w- there's people who even talk bad about him because they think he should have been the one to like lead the Red Dirt or Texas country sound revolution and not Parker and Co and all that and blah blah blah. And I was like, guys, you have to understand there's things called placeholders.
Yeah.
There's people who have to stand in the door like the big brother and let other people through. They have to feed the system enough to get popular and then
Mhm.
maintain that. And he fed the system enough, right?
Mhm.
And now he hasn't sold out in the sense of he's not making pop music now. He's not doing what everyone else did in like
No.
the way that he got popular. He's not continuing down that road to be more popular. Now he's just playing what needs to be played, but what he wants to play, and
Yeah.
he can't do both. He can't be Big Brother and then also start revolutions. He can't be Big Brother and find a new sound. He
Mhm.
is Texas country pure. That's it,
Yeah.
and he doesn't need to do more. We asked so much of people, and it's like, how do you expect him to make those last 3 albums that he did that went huge, but yet you think he's going to go back to his black and white label album? You can't do both.
Hmm.
Now down the line, I'd have no doubt when he's 60, he'll circle back and he'll jump on some train with one of the new subgenres of the 60,000 we form in the next 30 years. But he'll probably go back and like start writing some different albums. But right now, he's still holding the door. We have a lot of work to do still of like building the
Hmm.
table we want and like cleaning out the stuff that doesn't need to be here. Well, not necessarily. I don't want to say cleaning out. That sounds bad. I say mending the
Smoothing.
cultural fences. That's what
Yeah.
I say. Not gatekeeping, mending the cultural fences.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So that's my whole spiel because I just, dude, I don't get where people come from when they get mad at people like Cody Johnson or anyone around his caliber of like 20, like you're saying that it was funny, 2006 to 2015 is actually an era that I talk about a lot, especially in dance, of stadium country. You know, coming from Garth Brooks,
Oh,
2002,
yeah.
2004, it expanded, and in 2006, you can really see, you know, also the bootlicking patriotic country mixed with like contemporary and start breeding. 2000 by 2010, you have pop country,
Yeah.
heavy, like pure pop country, and then that took over bro, boyfriend, all that until 2016, and then it kept going. But then you started seeing the underbelly grow, and then
Hmm.
COVID switched, and you started seeing a lot of change until like 2 years ago. You know,
Yeah, I don't think I recognized the COVID thing, but yeah, that makes sense. There
and
was a
he came
shift
right
there.
out of it. I mean, 2006, he was FFA. He was winning comps there, and then
Hmm.
he got big right around the time like 2016,
Oh,
2017. He started getting really big, and that's when all of a sudden he just started making those like Texas, Nashville albums.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
No, I agree with you.
that's what it was. That's what it was. I know we could talk about that forever, but I
Oh
want to
yeah,
focus on
I and
championing you.
I try to be so correct with that because like everybody judges you on the name dropping aspect of it. And like someone gets pissed. It's just damned if you do, damned if you don't. With
Yeah, fuck them. That's all I have to say. I've gotten to that point, man. I think also what you said, like pulling that back of saying you gotta be careful who you take criticism from. I completely like that's huge. I've always said as a
yeah,
man, like you should always hear people out, but you should always have a filter over your heart. Like that's what being a
yeah.
man is. You know, is hearing everyone, only listening to the truth. You know.
Well, it's like, is this person projecting right now, or like, do they actually care about my best interest?
Hmm.
And it really it's hard to decipher sometimes, but you can feel it. You can
Yep.
feel it.
Exactly. And talking about feelings, that's kind of what I want to go into. I wanted to kind of talk about your shitty diners and bars, your skill of finding those and loving those, but I love how deep we are, and I want to stay this deep. And I'll just give space to allow you to go as deep as you'd like in this. Again, this
Yeah,
is for your fans, for your people, for my
yeah.
people to hear you. Of course, I think testimonies and struggles are important to talk about, but I
Hmm.
also know that that is not who you are. I think what came of things is what's important, and also what you have to speak on that is important, not necessarily let's go
Hmm.
into that time. But
Yeah.
the big part I think that's huge, and I would love whatever you're willing to say and however deep you're willing to go, simply because of how good you are with words. I would love to hear about, if you want to talk specifically about Taylor, but I'd love
Yeah.
to hear, like, I saw the story on how that he completely changed your path,
Yeah.
and however much you'd like to speak on how he affected you as a whole, but specifically how you view life and music and your purpose in all of this and what impact you want to make. Because I think, I could be wrong, but I think that was a huge part of your life, and I'd love for you to talk as much as you'd like on it.
Yeah, man. Hell, man, I didn't know you were gonna bring up Taylor. Oh, so Taylor, yeah, Taylor's. I was blessed to have him as my brother. Taylor, having him definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things in life. You know, he was born healthy. He was healthy, and around 6 years old, he got a brain tumor, and it really altered his life. And it took him about 4 years to 5 years to get over it. He flatlined one time when I was a kid, and that was very scary. But he fought like hell, and what happened is the tumor took as a way to. There's a lot of things that it did, and it made him part illegally blind, so he couldn't see out one eye. It didn't have any peripheral in the other. It affected his pituitary gland to where he couldn't produce his own testosterone, and like that had a trickle effect with health issues. So that was a big effect on his life, and I think it altered his behavior. He was a little socially awkward after that. Growing up with him, he was just an angel to me. He had a hard card, a set of cards he got dealt, but we were best friends, man. We were best friends. Watching him not be able to do things I was able to do, and I experienced the things I got to do, but yet watch him fight like hell for, most of his life. He's been battling some type of physical ailment. The doctor said he wouldn't make it past 30 after he got the gamma knife to get rid of his tumor. So, he was doing okay. He was living with my mom most of the time. And what happened is probably, I think, in 2020, when he started getting pulmonary hypertension, stage 4, which was kind of a death sentence for him because with what the brain tumor did is hold on real quick. Go lay down. My dog's walking around. Go lay down. Go. Sorry. So what happened is that he started getting stage 4 hypertension, which it built fluid around his lungs. He already had a problem with like regulating fluid. There's really nothing much they could do about it. And my mom had just had a heart attack, and my brother was on the 6th floor experiencing liver failure. It's a pretty bad day. I had like 6 hours of sleep in like 3 days, and I was up and down between the floors, and all of a sudden, like my brother woke up and he signed the hospice papers, and I was like, so this is what we're doing, and he knew. And, I watched him live life in a way that I've never seen anybody live life within this last month and a half, and he laughed all the time, man. I believe he was like the Zen master. Like he was like Pooh Bear, man, just whimsical and innocent, and it was super wise because everything was simple. But he was tired. He was tired, dude. The kid, he had had 20 plus surgeries, and he said, "I don't want to come back to the doctor ever again." And I was there for most of it, and it was hard for me to deal with during that time period, and like every person does with grief, it affects them in different ways, and drinking started becoming like a little bit of a problem there. And on June 18th 2021, with 21 friends, not 21 friends, 20 friends back and forth, and all the family present, Taylor passed away, and he was laughing while he was going, and he told me he was getting blue wings and he was going to come back as a dragonfly every now and then. And I, after that, was not the same. And I think if anybody loses anyone, especially tragically like that, it really alters your perception on life and how you see things and of time. And like, I'm still bitter about time to this day. Yeah. And also my brother really enjoyed watching me play music when I first started. At the time after he lost, at the time after he passed away, I had just, started playing gigs. I started really just not enjoying any 9 to 5. I felt like I felt like I was being suffocated, and I don't know if it was a smart decision, but I just quit all my jobs, sold everything, and just lived out my truck and just went across the country and played gigs for a year and a half, because that's how I wanted to heal myself. It's just I didn't want to have to deal with this. I'm just gonna go play gigs and just be free as a bird. But it caught up with me after I try, like, it's hard to manage your drinking period when you're in bars and in the music guy. It's really hard to deal with it when you don't deal with your grief, and you don't deal with your fear, and you don't deal with what's going on. It's easy to cry and talk about your emotions when you're hammered. How many times have you seen the guy crying in the bathroom at the bar and like, dude, get your shit together? But I wasn't dealing with anything. Like the biggest fable in today's society is like that traveling will heal you. No, it won't. Wherever you go, there you are. If you don't, whatever creeps in on you sitting on the couch is going to creep in on you when you're standing on top of a mountain in Colorado. Like it's the same thing. And that's what happened. I went to Colorado. I got screwed out of a bunch of money. I did everything for 2 weeks. I did everything under the sun because I mean that's what you do in Colorado, right? And you know, I remember I was sitting on top of this mountain like Breckenridge, and like I was like, I am miserable, dude. I'm miserable. And I only had $60 to my name, and for some reason, on a whim, like tripping on shrooms, I decided I'm gonna go gamble my last $60 on roulette. And thank God I got $360 out of that, and I got a plane ticket back to Tennessee. But I had a full blown panic attack because like I was just like I felt nothing was working, and so I went. My truck broke down, and so I had to borrow my mom's car, and so I went and played this crappy gig down in Broadway at the Big Machine Distillery, which is an indoor bar. And you know, I'm just trying to play the gig, feeling kind of rough, to be honest. And so I go down and I take a sip of my drink, and I look on my microphone. There's a blue dragonfly sitting on my microphone, and it hopped on my hand, and I remember what my brother said, and it was like a lightning bolt hit me. You know, some person can tell me the scientific, you know, breeding patterns of a dragonfly and how they ended up on my mic in Broadway, but to me, it was him, and I knew right then. I like the one thing common denominator in my life is that like what I was doing wasn't working, and my solution was going to AA. So and quitting drinking. So I went to my first meeting, and like it's been rough since then, but you know, grief affects me today the same as it did then, man. I have accepted the fact that a part of me is always going to be stuck on his bed in a fetal position, watching him take his last breath. And that's what you do with love, you know? And that's okay. Like I'm completely okay with at any given moment being 50%, you know, being sad about something like that. You know, like any given moment, I can be in a room full of joy, and all of a sudden I'm melancholy, and it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay. I don't want that feeling to go away ever. And it's the reason why, and he's the reason why who I am with how gentle he was, his laugh. When you grow up with a disabled brother, you learn how to be a lot gentler to other people, and you also learn how to reevaluate how yourself and what's important. But it's still every day, man. But you know, I it doesn't get easier. You just learn to accept the fact that your mood change. You're gonna miss that person every day, and even in your happiest moments, you're gonna miss them. And it's just part of being human, man. This is the experience. It's part of it, and you know, it's okay to feel that way. I think the one thing is there's I didn't know you're supposed to feel certain ways. I thought you could cancel them out, and now I just learned that that's part of it. But that's I think Steve Wilson said pretty good. You know, grief is love with nowhere to go. You know, I think that song was great, and it's I'll be honest though, I would much rather have Taylor here today than all these life lessons. But that's not what's happening right now, and I've grown to accept it. But it doesn't mean that I moved on from it. So, like I said, I was very lucky to be Taylor's brother, and I was lucky to have him. Because I like not because of his death, I wouldn't be who I am. It was because who he was and how he lived, and that would have been the same, you know, if he would have died or not. But yeah, man, that's the story of Taylor Burch.
Well, thank you for letting us feel that with you, man. It takes a lot to speak on those things, but I also know that I can tell by just how you word things and from what I've seen on, socials of the way you say things too, I can tell. I didn't realize it was from him, but you have been deeply affected, and
Mhm.
there is mourning to that, but there's also celebration. And I've never heard it said that way, but when you said I'd rather have him than all of the life lessons he's given, yeah, that's huge
Yeah,
because I also love the fact that some of the listeners that are here right now might know you and might have known Taylor, but now everyone who never got the opportunity, they don't know his whole story. but they feel it.
Yeah.
And I hope this isn't. I hope this is our biggest audience we've had, just so they can hear it. Because that was good, and I appreciate you being vulnerable.
No
You
problem.
closed it at 2 sentences, man, but you opened up completely to us, and I'm thankful for it.
Man, I
Truly.
can talk the paint off the walls. That's what we messed up.
That's why I knew we'd have a good interview, man. I get it. It's terrible to get in here with people and like ask them a deep question. I'll give them a deep question and they give me a shallow answer. But what I love is when people, I can give them a shallow question and they can give me a deep answer. That
Yeah.
obviously wasn't one of those, but it's good to be able to have someone here who can actually hold a conversation, because I really would love to carry that over exactly into what I really want to round this out with, and that is mourning and celebrating. And you found a great place to do it, to be able to share yourself, but to also experience with other people, and that's in a honky tonk.
Oh
I
yeah.
think honky tonks are the blessed place to mourn and celebrate, and I don't think today what we've lost in our identity as a nation and our individuality as in our culture, we've lost the ability to go into a place like a honky tonk
Mhm.
and understand that we can only celebrate as deeply as we can mourn, and we can only
Yeah.
mourn as deeply as we can celebrate. And it's that roundness of like someone could be in that bar at their lowest and someone else could be at their highest, and they meet each other and they want to keep meeting each other there, and they could be a complete stranger, but that the honky tonk, it's an idea,
Yeah.
and luckily that idea is a physical place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when it was the honky tonk was originated, it was like it was the epicenter of social interaction where you
Yeah.
dance and celebrate, man. If they have them all over the South of like the town hall. They used to be the dance place, man. I used to have a like very shallow light about the honky tonk. I think it's changed for me completely now. It's
Yeah.
definitely my happy place.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to leave deep conversations about dance to try to entice your old lady to come on an episode. But we love Lauren. Honky Tonk Traditions is a massive fan of what Lauren does. For those who don't know, Lauren is Tanner's lady, and she does great jobs to bring back something as simple as dance seals into a line dance, because everyone
Man.
else is too focused on trying to do what's popular. I don't know if you're responsible for it. Maybe we can talk into that. Is her influence on you and your influence on her? But something changed, because even she's mentioned the fact how I met her was like a year and a half ago, when she's like, "Hey, maybe we should have country music in a country bar." I don't know.
Yeah.
And so since then, she hasn't fought against the stream. She's just so clearly shown it's like it's this
Yeah.
simple to do this. Why are we not doing this?
Yeah,
And so
dude.
tell me about you can even go into also y'all as a whole, but I'm curious how she's affected you and how you've affected her, what you see.
Man, she's the best. I was so proud when she did the bop line dance, man. It was great. Uh, yeah, she's great. We actually met, while she was line dancing in Chattanooga. I was working the merch table for Chase McDaniel,
Come on.
and we had known each other through like social media. I guess I was being a creep. I don't know, but like, and I saw her line dance content. But yeah, and so she came to the show. I was like, I know that girl. And then I think she knew me because she walked by me and shot finger guns at me, and hook, line, sinker, man. So, but as far as like her involvement with dance and like how country is, like her passion about it, and we both are like dance and country are synonymous and they make sense together. That's the tradition. And so she got me interested in dancing. I mean, the first two-step dance I ever took was with her. So, yeah,
Come on, let's go,
yeah,
Lauren. I
yeah,
think she can hear me too. She doesn't have to come out, but I know she can hear. That's great. I love that.
yeah. The first two-step lesson was with her. So I didn't two-step before, we started dancing. I would just do like shag dancing, like, just spin. And I didn't know what I was doing. I thought it was just like, I don't know what it was. I really can't explain. But it had no like formula or rhythm to it. So
Hmm.
she did the first two-step thing with me, and man, that's what we do. like, that's what we do. And I think what I've introduced to her is like cats like Dan Seals, also like the shuffles and swings. And she has me definitely more interested in dance culture and like how it should be.
Hmm.
Um, and then because, I'll go with the palace with her and we're trying to two step and like we're just dodging a bunch of, you know, just like spin people, all over the place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think I've turned her on to like kind of the more traditional side of country. She's always known that. She's always had a great taste in music. Like I'm not putting that, like she's loved '90s, loves Cody Johnson. She likes a lot of great artists. The Jonas Brothers is only a questionable one, but well,
Hey, I love some Joe Bro, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Do I think they're a great band? But you turn on some Love Bug, you turn on some Year 3000, man. Oh man, I'm getting down. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. They're not a guilty pleasure. They're just a pleasure for me.
yeah, yeah. I understand. I mean, one of these days I'm gonna go to a concert with her, but we'll see. But yeah, I've shown her kind of the nerdier side of the country, and I think that's really helped her see the tradition of it and like really hear what good music is supposed to sound like.
Hmm.
That was a joke. I don't like, but yeah, man. So what she's we're both fighting the good fight on Broadway. I'll tell you that.
That's all you can do.
Trying to be traditional and with roots of country on Broadway is a hard thing to do because everybody the like it's not just the the bar owners. It's also the people. The people want to hear the Killers, dude. The people want to hear you know Journey play overplayed 500 times. Not all of them, but the ones that hang out at Kid Rock and Bon Jovi and
Hmm.
you know all these other bars. They do, but she believes in the traditional country line dancing, traditional country two step.
Hmm.
And I'm over here trying to play all traditional country on Broadway. And there's a bunch of cats that do it. Like I'm not saying like I'm the only one, but go to midnight. If you go on around Broadway at midnight on a Friday, please tell me where you hear a pedal steel guitar, like anywhere.
Hmm.
It's not it's hard, and that's something I try to do is be the traditional country guy at midnight on Broadway on a Friday. So
Would you say,
we're
like, again, it's easy. I think not us, but I think it's easy for anyone to like always find something to hate on for anyone, especially Broadway. But what would you say? I'm curious, a tangible change you think they could make? So is that the steel? And then also, I'd love to be able to like finish it out too with maybe a what's a positive thing about Broadway too. So a
yeah
tangible change. Do you think the steel, just however they can, could the steel be a tangible change that you like? Broadway
yeah.
would be moving in the right direction, and then maybe a positive about it.
Well, here's the thing: music has its place. Do I think rock should be played on Broadway? I think it can be. I think it should be. Like, I mean, the fact that you have places like Kid Rock, Bon Jovi, and then Nudies, like they play rock. That's what they're gonna play. That's where you should go. But
Hmm.
I feel like, you know, the country experience and craftsmanship needs to be presented there. I think, you know, quality is important when you play in Nashville. Like it's the country music capital of the world. It's also the place where the best supposedly are. I figured you would want some of the best lineup you could possibly have. But I get it because the pay isn't great. The pay is not great in Broadway. I feel like if they were to increase the pay, like a lot of the better people would still play down there. But um, I think that bars need to have an identity. Like, if you're going to be Garth Brooks bar or Alan Jackson's bar or like Legends Corner, like have an identity of what you're going to be. Like Roberts has an identity. You go on the Roberts, you're going to be hearing some Ray Price, Hank Williams Sr. You're going to hear the things that are in the golden era of country because that's their identity. I think bars need to have identities. I think there needs to be a place where those things are done. And that's great. And that's great because then you know, everybody has a spot where you can find the thing that you want. But instead you walk down the street and you're hearing the same songs like being played, and most of it is not a shuffle swing or a Waylon song. you know Now there's like I said, there are people that do it. I'm not saying there's not people. I'm the only one. I'm not. There's some people that do it way better than I do. But as far as like the sheer volume of cats doing it, there's not. You know, the one thing that Broadway does do is I get to make a living playing music. I don't have to worry about booking. And despite, what people think, I make pretty good money, money to where I can have a nice apartment, not live in my truck anymore. And, if you're with the right bars, you're going to have the freedom to do the show that you want. I'm not going to shove Ray Price and Bob Wills down a bunch of people at 12 midnight. But I'm going to play Chattahoochee. I'll play Folsom Prison Blues. Copperhead Rose is a good song. Whatever.
Yeah.
Play a little bit of Childers, play some of the Zach Top, play the Cody Johnson, play the Tim McGraw, play and like those are great stuff to play. What's wrong with doing it? So it's given me the opportunity to like make a living as an artist, and then I play a lot of acoustic gigs,
Mhm.
and like those are real fun. Like I get like those I get to engage with people in acoustic gigs, man. I get personal with them, and and they're laid back, they're fun. So I would have never dreamed that I could make the living I do just playing gigs and playing music. And Broadway has given me that opportunity, and like that's a beautiful thing because booking is such a hard thing to do in the first
Mhm.
place, like and worrying about gas and like going here and there, and it's very hard in this economy. So I'm glad I've worked hard enough to have my residencies in places that keep calling me back, or otherwise, who knows what I'd be doing.
Maybe scything some grass for, what was it, $75 doing a whole field?
Yeah,
Goodness.
freaking
Yeah, not
sling
me.
blade.
Dude, I was on a farm and I know that. And I mean, I've done stuff like that, but
That was
playing
ridiculous.
music in Nashville is far better than that.
Huh?
Playing music in Nashville is far better than that.
I agree. I'll
Far
play the
better.
wall. I'll play the walls for a whole week before I have to, sling blade 3 acres and accidentally hit a cow patty and smell like cow shit. You know what I'm
Yeah. Even if it's to a boot, shop that has no one in there.
saying?
It's much better. Much better.
Oh, Freebird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, where can these folks find you? Where, maybe not that boot shop, but where can they come out and see you play? Do you have any new music coming out? Socials, anything? The floor is yours. Where can folks connect with you?
In Nashville, all my schedule's posted on Tanner the Hill Hippie on Instagram. It's Tanner the Hill Hippie on TikTok. It's Tanner Burch Music on Facebook. I have music out right now. My latest single is I Reckon, that came out last year. I am trying to come out with new music, but that's still in the makes, and I gotta pull out a lot of finances for that. In April, I'll be in April 8th, 17th, I'll be at Honky Talk Thursday in Knoxville. 18th, I'll be in Murphy, North Carolina at Chevelle 66. And then April 19th, I'll be at Edda's Hideaway in Weaverville, North Carolina, near Asheville. Some good honky tonks there, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, brother, I thank you so much for giving me all this. Is a lot of time, and I feel like we could honestly talk for another 2 hours.
Yeah, man, I had fun. I felt like I rambled a little bit, but it was a good time.
That's why we're here. This is not my show. This is your space for the hour we're allowed to allot. And to be honest, again, if I could edit well and I had a cool aesthetic studio for our listeners to look at while they hear us talk, I feel like I would be able to go for another 2 hours. But sadly, again, people's attention spans just aren't there. But who knows? You might be able to pop in once I convince Lauren to come on and talk to us about line dancing and country music as a whole. But
Yeah, man,
until then, man, you
I'd
keep
listen to that.
Oh yeah, you might have to pop in and help us out. But you just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing extremely well, not just to play a sound, but to connect with it and connect with the people you're playing to while not losing yourself at all. We see you through it as a whole, and I can't wait to see what other songs you write. And I love also seeing the words you write. If not daily, you're writing them at least, every 3 days. So I love seeing on your story any of your deep thoughts.
Yeah, I try to share it. I think it's more of accountability for myself than it is for you guys.
Sometimes that's what it needs, When I get to the point too, if I do anything writing, I just sometimes I'll be halfway through it and be like, does anyone really want to read this? And then I realize, that one person might, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
That
dude.
one person. And so
Yeah.
keep playing for that one person, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to getting you back on here.
Yeah, man. Hope to see you soon.